So in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about how to establish credibility and authority when you're starting out in the corporate world. And this is one of the first challenges that you would face when you start to do business meetings is how do you introduce yourself? And based on how you introduce yourself, you would shape the perception of the person listening to you from then on. And everything depends on those few seconds, because everything that you say afterwards would depend on the initial few seconds of the meeting. And there is a lot that can be conveyed in that short amount of time. And everything you say, the power in what you say would depend on how those few seconds went. So it's an important segment, and it's very important how you orchestrate that. So first and foremost rule of the meeting is you have to be dressed in a three-piece suit, and you have to have a nice pocket square, and you have to have your hair cut. I know there are a lot of tech CEOs and tech founders that like to keep their hair, open and kind of go with the hippie style. And I don't personally have any problem with that, but you are harshly judged by the way you look in the corporate world. And it's important, especially in the investment business or in any business. It doesn't matter what business you're in, but if you have a three-piece suit with a pocket square, it just adds to this layer that you take yourself seriously. You are someone who has got authority. And also, if you have a nice suit, you're someone who's got money. And you have to look like $1 million. There's no two ways about it. Even the CEO of a $3.5 billion company, who happens to be my business partner, has complimented me many times. And even after a couple of years, whenever I go to a board meeting, I'm the most well-dressed person, and people just say it over and over again that you look always so pristine, and it's amazing. And that's the effect that you have even after many years of meeting your business partners. You'll always have this sense of authority. And I'll come to the remaining parts, but the first impression is the eyes. It's not the ears. They're looking at you. They may even look at the car that you come out of, the watch that you have on your wrist. Those things are also important, but the most important is what you're wearing and how you carry yourself. It conveys you have a serious intention when you enter into a meeting. You're going there to accomplish something. You're going for the kill, and you're there to talk business. You're not there to mess around, be casual, and you're someone who takes yourself seriously. And everything that you say, you take it seriously. That's what a suit really is communicating. So that's really extremely important. Second thing is, I like to introduce myself because I'm a young guy. I was 26 when I started to, bring people together in Dubai, high-powered people. It was very important that I talk about the future that I'm headed. Because one thing to understand is that I'm not going in to give a job interview. I'm not applying for a job. So I'm not going to talk about my degrees and all of this nonsense that really has no meaning in today's world, especially. How much cash flow does the degree produce? Nothing. So it's what you do afterwards that's most important. So how I introduce myself to the CEO of a $3.5 billion company, he asked me, "What do you do, sir?" And he called me sir. That's how he speaks, with a lot of respect. He says, "What do you do, sir?" And I said, "I'm building a healthcare investment company that will be bringing family businesses together, several family businesses together, consolidate them in one group, and then exiting via private sale. So that's the platform I'm building." That's what I said. And his eyebrows raised. And he said, "That's very interesting." And I said, "What do you do?" And he said, "I just retired. I was the CEO of the second largest telecommunication company, and now I will be sitting on boards." So that's how we met, and the meeting afterwards went very favorably, and now he's my chairman and a business partner. And I didn't think that was possible. But before that meeting, when we were in the car, my brother asked me this question: how are we going to introduce ourselves? And we are young guys, and we are yet to build that authority. So how do you do that? So this is how you do it. You talk about the future. You would be asked about your past and you talk about them, tell them. But what's important is where you're headed, how ambitious your goal is, and how enthusiastic you are, how passionate you are, and how you look. Now, I know some of the people think enthusiasm and passion is not important, but it is extremely important. Have you looked at Kanye West talking? There's something contagious about that passion. And if you even hear Elon Musk talking about electric cars or rockets, I mean, he gets all fired up. And there's something to passion that I neglected. I thought it's all about technicalities and logic, but the fire and enthusiasm is important. And this is again coming from my great mentor, Dan Pena. He said enthusiasm is important, excitement is important. So you need to have that, and you need to have a vision of where you're headed in the future, because the people that you're meeting, you're having a future-based conversation. This is not a job interview. You are having a future-based conversation. So these are the initial points of conveying, establishing some grounds to have a conversation. But there are many other strategies of creating authority. For example, whenever I used to meet the CEO of this $3.5 billion company, I would always lose my ground in front of him. I would enter into the meeting, and it was almost like all of the power that I had in my physical body would just leave my body and would go to him. And he always had an upper hand. He always had leverage in the conversation. And I didn't understand for a long time why was I giving up so much of power whenever I would speak to him, and why am I not able to handle myself, and why do I have all these tics on my face and this nervousness. And he's such a good guy. He's so respectful, and he's an amazing guy. So why is it that I feel this? He means well and everything. Why do I feel this? And then I realized that there is a whole pre-frame that would happen when I would meet him, because he has associated with some of the most powerful individuals in the world. He has been in rooms with Barack Obama. He has met Richard Branson. Richard Branson came to his house. And I mean, he was the CEO of the second largest telecom company, which means he was reporting to the highest ranking royal family members. And he has got photographs with them. He was a speaker at the World Government Summit. And he has spoken in front of, crowds of 10,000 people. So all of these things I would associate with him and who he is. And it's part of his track record. It's part of his background. And that establishes his authority. And so my point here, and whenever I meet him, I never think about what did he study in college, or which college he went to, or which university he went to. It's not important. What's important is what happened afterwards. That's what's important. And my association with him is important. So, and how you associate with each other is important. So that thing is important, but the whole hypnosis around Ivy League universities, the top universities, Harvard, Oxford, Cornell, all of this, it's just been hammered from the school, from the colleges, and most people think that's the most important thing. Introducing yourself would mean talking about what university you went to. Nobody gives a shit. Okay, I can tell you with the hand on my heart, I don't know what happens in a job interview, but as an entrepreneur, and you're building a company, you're the owner of the company, it doesn't make a shit. People do not care, especially the high-powered individuals. They don't care. They have seen too many times the Harvard guys or the Cornell guys fuck up, and they know there is no correlation between performance and going to any of these universities. Education is important. I'm not saying education is not important. I'm not saying these universities are bad. I'm just saying there is no correlation to success. You have so many individuals. The guy that I met who was worth around 500 million pounds, who had done deals with Hilton hotels, didn't finish school. And so it doesn't matter. So I'm saying this because I had in my head programmed, because I was watching Suits, and Harvey Specter says to this guy, you're very talented, all of that's great, but we have a policy, we only take people from Harvard. I'm sorry. And I had this registered in my brain that you have to go to Harvard, otherwise things are just not going to work out. You don't even belong in the corporate world. And I didn't even attempt as a result until I went to the Castle seminar and I started to execute on the steps. And then I was like, nobody ever asked me. Nobody cares. You know, if you watch Shark Tank, before asking, when they're asking questions, have you ever heard them, what did you study in college or university? No. What's the market that you're selling the product to? What's the competition? Can a competition disrupt your business? You know, how much are you buying this for? How much are you selling this for? What's your marketing strategy? And what's your revenue? And how much are you looking, how much money are you looking for what purpose? And how much stake are you willing to give in the company? And what's your, you know, how are you performing in the company? That's the question. It's not the degree, the university. It doesn't matter. So I'm re-emphasizing this so many times is because I don't want you to feel that, oh, because I didn't go to any of these universities, I can't perform. In fact, I have an interesting story. I met a lawyer who was from Harvard Law School. He went to Harvard Law School and he had worked at a couple of firms, and, you know, he didn't reach the great heights that I wanted a lawyer to reach. And then I would hire that person. This guy went to Harvard, and he was also a judge in Egypt. And, you know, he had something in his background, but so I initially said yes to him. And then I found much more powerful individuals and I said, forget about it. I'm not interested. You know, it won't work. You don't have background in mergers and acquisitions. So, you know, it's not going to work out. You haven't, you know, you haven't worked in the mergers and acquisitions. You were just a lawyer from Harvard. That's it. So I have to let you go. And he started to really sell me after I said him no, that please, you know, you got to consider this. You got to consider that I can, you know, do this, I can do that. But I wasn't interested after that, because I had found a managing partner from one of the largest law firms in the world who had worked on a $13 billion backed merger. And he was a very highly respected guy in the market. He had set up the Dubai Stock Exchange market. He had written some laws of the new jurisdiction that was formed in Dubai, because Dubai's law was up and coming, corporate law was being drafted, and he was the one appointed to draft these laws. And I was in a partnership with him, and he agreed, and we just, you know, hit it off. And I had him, I didn't need him, this other guy, and, you know, so I had to let him go, and I started to bring more and more powerful individuals. So the bottom line is that these are Ivy League degrees nobody cares about in the corporate world. It's about what you've done, and it's about who you associate with. So whenever I go into a meeting, because I am associated with people who have credibility, who have a track record, all of that rubs off on me. So you could borrow credibility, you could borrow authority, you could have endorsement. You know, like one of those presidents, you know, when they endorse someone who nobody knows about, and then the president who used to be a president endorses this person. You know, I endorse this person, he has my blessing. So you could have authority on the basis of that also. And that's one of the reasons why you partner up with high-powered individuals that have got authority, because their authority will rub off on you. And it's going to be a tremendous benefit for you. And there's no shortage of people with a lot of authority. It's not just the chairman that I have, who I love and respect. I had chairman of Citibank, Qatar, that I had access to. I had several royal family members that have approached me who wanted to be on the board later on, which I had to deny. But by that time, the board was complete, and, you know, highest ranking members of the royal family members, I wanted to have control on the board, you know, not give up the control to them. So I was kind of pushing back, and maybe at a later stage, once the company blows up, at that time I could bring one of the royal family members, but at the initial stages, I wanted to stay away from that. So there is no shortage of people with credibility and authority. And by associating yourself with these people, you will have credibility. So that's the third or fourth piece of the puzzle, is who you associate with. You know, I can guarantee you, if in that meeting in Burj Al Arab, when I met the $3.5 billion company CEO, at that time, if I had any one of my friends wearing t-shirt and jeans in that meeting, and I'm wearing suit, and he's standing next to me with his arm on my shoulder, or any funny thing like that, the chairman of my company, who's my business partner right now, would not have partnered up with me. He would not want to associate with me. But I had cut out all my past ties with all my friends. And I was there in a suit. I was serious. I meant everything I said. He could feel it. I had passion for what I was doing. And boom. He took that decision on a gut instinct. Once I had him on the board, and I had another couple of guys, I had a lot of authority. And all I had to do was just kept stacking up authority more and more. And you have more and more credibility. You have more and more leverage in conversations when you go into the meeting. From that point on, once I set up the board, once I had my business partners aligned, almost every single door was open for me in entire UAE. I could just, send over an email, my company profile with the profiles of my directors, and boom, instant credibility. Instant credibility. Even as a young guy, it's because who you associate with. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that I have seen people make, is getting into business partnerships with friends, with family, with people you're familiar with, and you're losing on a lot of credibility. In fact, in some of these cases, you have negative credibility, that if you just went alone, you would have got the deal, but you had some moron that you call a friend or a best friend sitting next to you, and he just did some mannerism that put someone off, or the way he was dressed up, or something about this guy fucked up completely the optics of the situation, and you lost the opportunity just based off of association. If association with Barack Obama and Richard Branson, who my chairman is connected with, can give him a lot of credibility and power, the opposite of that can take away credibility. And I think Machiavelli, there was a quote that Dan Pena had shown on the screen, and you should read the book The Prince, by the way, if you want to know how to establish authority and credibility. It's a great, fantastic book. And Machiavelli says the strength of a ruler can be measured by the type of people he associates with. So you can see, you can measure the strength and power of a ruler based on the people he associates with. So you want to associate with people who are way outside of your comfort zone, who are really powerful, and you have to only get into business partnership with that, with them. I know there is an established trust in friendships, there is established safety and all of that, but you're not entering into a safe arena. And as Michael Corleone says in Godfather 3, friendship and money are like oil and water. They don't go together. Once you establish a non-financial relationship with someone, to convert it into financial will have consequences, and the dynamic of the relationship changes. I have seen this happen with me and my brother. I've seen this happen with me and many of my friends, that when the money was on the table, their faces changed. And when the money was not on table, it's all love and happiness. But when there's a lot of money on the table, or women, when these two things come into picture, the eyes change, the face change, the people change. And you can't believe it's the same guy that you called as your best friend who just betrayed you for this money. So it's always, it's not a good idea to get into a business partnership. In very rare case, it may be possible, I don't know. But I have not seen good results from it. So you want to make sure that you associate with powerful people. To summarize, suit, three-piece suit, talk about the future, associate with powerful individuals, and also you would be judged based on the type of venue that you invite someone. A lot of the bankers that I met wanted to meet me in Starbucks. I said, no, we're going to meet in Four Seasons or Ritz-Carlton. And that's where you do your meetings, in one of these venues, and all of this has an effect. And I remember one meeting that I did with one of the bankers in in Al Naseem Hotel in Dubai. It's at the same level of Four Seasons and Ritz-Carlton. And I met, no, actually it was Four Seasons. I'm sorry. It was actually Four Seasons Hotel. I do a lot of meetings in Al Naseem Hotel also, but the Four Seasons Hotel, I had invited several bankers to the meeting. I had my lawyer sitting on my right. I had a highly respected corporate finance guy who was a senior partner in one of the big four accounting firms sitting on my left. I was sitting in the middle in the power seat. We were in the Four Seasons lobby, and these bankers come up, and all three of us are sitting in a three-piece suit, which I had advised these partners of mine to be in, three-piece suit. And just imagine walking into a meeting where you have three guys in three-piece suit, pocket square, serious, and ready to talk business. I mean, the whole impression versus the type of meeting that the banker would have experienced before this. So the person came in, and I had instant credibility. Next thing you know, they want to take us out to a nice fine dine restaurant, want to have a second, third round of conversation, and eventually they ended up giving us a term sheet. And that was a $10 million business that we were looking to buy, and he had provided term sheet to finance 50% of it. We decided not to go for the deal because it had some legal issues, but we still managed to get that interest from the bank, which means the whole strategy works. So authority, credibility, how to establish that. Notice I did not go too much into verbal communication. I went a lot into non-verbal. Who you associate with, suits, venue, and talk about the future. And that's important. So that's today's video, and I will talk to you soon.